I am Erin Patton, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patton, also known as Master L, and welcome to today's episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast. I am so honored to be with you here today. As always, if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to my channel at I am Erin Patton, and of course, share this video with a friend. I love to hear from you guys in the comments or in my DMs, so certainly share this message because it needs to be heard. And without further ado, I want to jump into today's topic because it is certainly one that I've talked a lot with women about, and it's about our femininity, even men being more emotional in the workplace. And, I titled it very specifically, Quit Playing the Aggressive Business Game and Start Winning as a Woman. And that's really what this episode is about, because I want us, especially as women entrepreneurs, to be able to play the game in the way that really reflects our strengths, really reflects our skills. So we're not having to, shift and mask and or perform in order to do what we love and to earn a living and to really, receive our compensation, however you want to say it, pay our bills. And we want to be able to do that as our authentic, beautiful, loving, and knowledgeable selves. Okay. So to start, I really want to really ground us in the history of business. And I'm going to share my screen here. So give me a second so you all can see that which I'm going to share. And essentially it's right here, from the battlefield to the boardroom. And, feel free to screenshot this and, or, jot it down if you want to, reference it for yourself. But essentially this article really speaks to the military history of business. And I love to share this, because I don't get a chance to talk about it often. However, when we were learning about the history of business, when I was in business school, particularly at Harvard Business School, we learned that Harvard Business School was created, right after World War II, and it was a feeder school essentially for military leaders. So the higher ranking military leaders were coming back from war and they were being deployed into businesses. Essentially, they needed to go back to work. And so essentially they've been trained in these military tactics. And so obviously that's in essentially their DNA, and that's in the DNA of modern business. And, even strategy and even the word career derives from combat. So it's really a very not just masculine, but militaristic approach that we have been used to experiencing in business. And I know that when I talk about it this way, it may not even feel too much like I'm far off, like you even need evidence to even know that, because so often people are writing emails and feeling like they're going to war just in their emails. And, and I've seen so many memes literally where people are like, if I copied you on that email, if you would have seen it, Sally, and, warm regards, Lily, and how they're just going back and forth with this passive aggressive language in emails. And even, I hear and have experienced so many, stories and scenarios where people are behaving one way at work and I've actually, read articles, seen articles like how you're swimming with sharks at work. But then when you're in happy hour or, on the weekend playing, whatever sports together or seeing each other out casually, they're a whole different person. So literally it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde when it comes to our work lives. And many of us have been conditioned to be that way. And I was that way too. So that's why I'm able to speak to it so so honestly, so authentically, and so real, because this was me. And so many people that I know and love are also still doing this performance for work, and then a different person when they're coming home. And so what we want to understand is that we don't have to lead this double life, if you will, this fractured life, because it really not only drains our energy. When we come back to the energy aspect of it, it not only drains our energy, but it takes us out of ourselves, and we're not even able to perform at our highest level. And so essentially we need to shift from this militaristic, aggressive approach to something that feels more aligned, that feels more enlightened. And the way that the modern workplace is set up is that it really isn't created for or creates the space, the environment for real human connection. Let's put it that way. Just recently I was talking with a friend, it was just yesterday, about like how, young people are coming into the workplace and they don't seem to be super excited about the job. And I was trying to express to my friend that, hey, like, I don't think it's the work necessarily that people aren't excited about. Like, don't, poo-poo on that, what you're doing, like, don't shit on what you're doing. Like, you're actually adding value to the company. So just because people aren't seeming excited, it has less to do with the work and more to do with the connection. And so when we're, as human beings, let's just break it down to the fundamentals, whether woman or man, we want to feel a connection to that which we're doing in the work that we're doing. Especially, we're showing up, we're giving 80% of our lives to this work every day. Like literally we're working from like 9 to 6 most days, and then so we only have a few hours at night, for ourselves, to ourselves, and for our families. And so we want to be able to feel like we belong to something. And so that essentially is not the military way. I mean, certainly there is a cohesion, there is a community, but certainly not one that is rooted in human connection. It's mostly about dominance and control, and fundamentally around violence. When you think about the military, it's defense and offense in the way of destruction. And so it's no surprise then that so many of our businesses and so many of our companies are destroying our planet, are destroying our bodies, are destroying our health, because fundamentally that is for which business has been created, a military version. And so I really am hoping that this resonates with people out there who care about business and who care about the future of business, particularly as women entrepreneurs, and that we are here to really shift that which has been done for a century, at least for centuries at best. You know what I'm saying? Millennia. So, women entrepreneurs, we really are leading a new frontier of creating businesses that not only do well in the world, but be well in the world. We can't do well if we're not being well. So, that being well, I'll get into that strategy, really comes with us removing those masks, removing that desire to have to perform and be in this form that doesn't really suit us every single day at work. And being able to be our full selves, our loving selves, our beautiful selves, our soft selves every single day. And understand that there is power in that. And, we should be able to build a workplace that really celebrates feminine energy. And this, again, has nothing to do with woman or man or gender situation. This is all about the energy of the feminine. The nurturing, the intuition, the adaptability, the softness, the emotion, the emotional intelligence. And when we're not tapping into those aspects, we are fundamentally missing 50% of that which we're working with. Woman and man comes with both the balance of masculine energy and feminine energy into this world. So to be very intentional about bringing in and having that embodied in you every single day is necessary in this day and time. To really shift from where we came from, the masculine dominant, military dominant world. And not only is this shift necessary from a moral mandate, but there are business implications of this as well that I want to get into. So let's, bring up the evidence for those that really want to see clear, concrete evidence. So we know that self-awareness is really important, of course, yet right here in the Harvard Business Review, it was an article, a very beautifully evidence-based article that spoke to not only self-awareness, enabling employees to see themselves more clearly, but when we have that self-awareness and that clarity of self, then we're able to be more confident, more creative, more collaborative, which essentially leads to sounder business decisions. And a culture of belonging is not just a moral mandate like I was speaking to before. Of course, it's morally right to be belonging and have the masculine and the feminine and everybody working together in this kumbaya, united front. But it is a business imperative. Everyone thrives in an environment in which our inherent worth is important and celebrated and recognized. And so lastly, and that came from the International Banker. And lastly, this came from a Gallup poll that is actually refreshed every year, but the first one came out this year, where well-being directly affects your business outcomes. The well-being of the individuals of your organization directly affect your outcomes. Most effective leaders with more satisfied employees co-create a more profitable bottom line. Okay, guys, this is evidence right here. And, Paul Pullman, the former CEO at Unilever, wrote this in the Financial Times, that most executives, business executives, leaders, didn't set out to become societal leaders. Certainly not. But this is the responsibility that's bestowed upon them by the times. And this was very soon after COVID and shutdown and the world, the Black Lives Matter, all the racial stuff that was happening, the societal chaos that was happening around the world. Business leaders are required now to say something. I will never forget when I was at Harvard Business School, back in 2014. This was when the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, when it was really escalating. And there were die-ins in Harvard Square. There were people protesting at the Harvard Kennedy School, where I also went to school at. The law school, people were doing die-ins and protests. And it was eerily silent at the business school. Eerily. No one talked about what was happening across campus, let alone what was happening across the world. And so as leader of the Black Student Association, I really was like, we have to do something at the business school. And we ended up organizing like a portrait project in Spangler Hall, which was one of the student center where everyone walked through and ate lunch and things like that, where students, Harvard Business School students like myself and other people of color actually shared our own stories with our portraits of racial discrimination, racial attack. For people to be able to understand and feel and see that this is a real thing. Like, these things really do happen to us. It's not some isolated thing that happens over there. And then we ended up also hosting HBS's, for Harvard Business School's first ever vigil. Over 500, 600 people attended, including the dean. It was crazy. But this was something, and I got a lot of criticism, a lot of hate too for it. But at the same time, it was an opportunity for us to really start having these bigger societal conversations in real life, in business contexts, in business environments, where it's not just isolated to business as usual. business also is an integration of human experiences. So we have to be able to also consider the human, which to me is just insane that has to even be a conversation, but this is actually the conversation. How do we integrate more humanness, more beingness into business? And so I just want to continue to talk about what happens when we don't. Think about the humans, and I'm going to share my screen again. In our businesses, is it creates what I call organizational dis-ease. And I don't call it disease because we need to understand the root of the word disease comes from ease being disrupted, the flow being disrupted, dis-ease. And leaders can be trapped and deeply rooted in these unproductive habits because when you think about where business derives from and comes from, unproductive, toxic, militaristic environment. So it's going to create disease and burnout because we aren't used to running drills and boot camp and things like that in business, working 100-hour weeks, 120-hour weeks. This was something that was really expected when you're coming out of college, going into finance, going into these high performance industries. 80, 90, 100-hour weeks were standard. And it almost like a badge of honor, a certificate, something to be celebrated. Yet people, and I remember my peers being like, this work is soul crushing. I feel like I'm not even myself. I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't eat. Yeah, I'm making a lot of money, but I don't even get a chance to go out and spend it. I'm working all the time, being yelled at, cursed out if I make a mistake, but I'm not sleeping. So of course I'm going to make a mistake. And, then there's no magic pill to fix everything. So we all, know how the diversity thing, the DEI stuff panned out. And trying to accommodate all the differences in the workplace with various interest groups that do nothing but continue to divide and separate people into groups. And then, of course, there's the loneliness crisis that was really exacerbated by the shutdown and people being isolated into their homes and working from home, having to take care of their families and take care of their business obligations and not being seen for the human that they are, the human that they is. So we want to understand that when we are operating in these unproductive, toxic ways, that we are essentially creating organizational disease and also individual dis-ease. That individual disease turns into organizational disease. As an entrepreneur, especially, because you are the one carrying the work, carrying the vision for your organization. So you have to care for yourself. And I really want to get into more of why and how this care looks. So I want you guys to have a look at this toroidal field, this human biofield, this Taurus energy field, the other names are the Merkaba, the Sri Yantra, the aura. I'm sure many of you heard of your aura. And essentially, when we start to care for ourselves, we're having compassion for ourselves, it energizes this field around us, okay? And we're really able to start to move different, to have deeper intuition, deeper wisdom, deeper truth. And essentially, there's power within us. And it was demonstrated in that toroidal field. It arcs out of our head, up through our feet. And we can really achieve clarity and deeper connections with ourselves and with others by really tapping into that invisible energy, if you will, that spiritual energy, metaphysical energy. And we can use this connection to understand our soul's wisdom and guiding us to who we truly are. And that's what I'm saying about the authenticity, about showing in your softness, about being able to not have to be aggressive and be always pretending and wearing a mask and performing, those days are over. They're exhausting, first of all. So you need to be able to understand your truth and tap into your wisdom so that you can have more of that energy to work with. And when we have that, and when we tap into that energy of our heart, we're able to also hear our inner voice. And that sends information to our brain, helping us to always make the right decisions. And that's something too that I think in business is really kind of frowned upon, is not being able to feel into decision making. You always have to have data. You always have to have the facts. You always have to have the numbers. But in this case, I'm really encouraging you to also feel into your decisions, what feels right. And I know this to be true because I remember seeing a NASA documentary, and the name escapes me, around a shuttle that, had an accident in the air. Like when it was taking off, a piece of the shuttle came off and clipped one of the wings. And they did all these tests, all these studies, and the whole time people were feeling so badly, like this wasn't right. Something really bad happened there. But all their data and all their calculations were showing that it was nothing. And so when the shuttle came back to land, it burned up literally in the sky. And everyone died. All the astronauts died. And it was just so tragic because everyone felt and knew intuitively, energetically, emotionally that this wasn't a good situation. And they didn't even tell the astronauts. But the numbers and the data said something different. So we have to be able to balance that we have both the data with our feelings, because generally, especially for women, I remember my daddy used to always say this: a woman's intuition is greater than a 50-50 chance. So if you're listening to your womanly intuition, it's likely right. And you want to be able to cultivate that with your energy. And that's essentially, what we're going to be working on next in this meditation that I have, what I call this heart-centered feminine energy meditation, where we can really start to cultivate deeper connection to self and deeper energy connection so that you can really make these sounder decisions, these wiser decisions at all times, 100% of the time. Okay? So I would like for you to just take a moment to just stop what you're doing and close your eyes, get into a comfortable position, of course, and just start to notice your breath. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths with me. In through your nose and out through your nose, very, very casually and normally. Breathe in through your nose again. And out through your nose. And last, in through your nose and out through your nose. And I want you to place one hand on your heart and imagine a soft golden light beginning to glow there. This is your feminine essence, your intuitive wisdom, and your natural ability to create and nurture. I want you to notice how this light flows in a beautiful circular pattern, that toroidal energy we just discussed. It's moving through your chest, over your head, down your back, creating a continuous, very nurturing flow. This is your feminine power. With each exhale, release any armor, any masks from the business world, the pressure to not appear vulnerable, the pressure to not appear weak, the exhaustion from doing it all. Breathe out the need to prove yourself. Breathe in your inherent worthiness. Now, bring to mind a current challenge in your business or in your life? Drop this question very gently into your heart space, into that golden energy. Ask your heart, what do I need to know? Then listen with your entire being. Trust whatever arises, a feeling, an image, a knowing. Your inner voice is always guiding you toward authentic success. Now, I want you to know that this heart-centered wisdom is always available to you, whether you're in your meetings, your Zooms, in your decisions, in every moment of your journey. That wisdom is there. And you can access it by very simply placing your hand over your heart and taking 3 conscious breaths. Wherever you are, wherever you at. Now, when you're ready, bring your awareness back to the space. Take a deep breath in. And exhale as you return your attention to your surroundings. And I want you to remember that your feminine energy isn't a weakness. It's your superpower, baby girl. It's your superpower. So trust your heart, honor your intuition, and lead with authentic feminine power. Okay? Lead with that. Lead with that. And so, this really begins to wrap up today's podcast episode. For all of you women entrepreneurs out there, I want you to really sit with this, integrate this. If you need to re-listen to that meditation at any point in the day, certainly take the time to do that, because we want to understand and understand how to lead with our hearts, not with our minds. We think a lot. Our thoughts deceive us because sometimes they don't even be our thoughts, our own thoughts. You have to trust what's coming from you and trust what is real. Know the truth. And this will guarantee your success. All right? And if you want to work with me one-on-one to really start to cultivate this truth in you and these gifts in you more deeply, holler at me. Shoot me a DM at I am Erin Patton, or you can check out my website, erinpatton.com, to learn more about my resources and offerings and how you can work with me. And in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to put out this beautiful content for you to thrive with and work with every week. So I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast. Much love and light. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.